Despite being the richest province in Canada, Alberta is spending the least per student on education. It means that classrooms are bursting at the seams, as detailed in this issue of Alberta Views magazine. We talked to the author and an elementary school teacher to find out why it matters and how we can fix it.
The needs of the students really haven't changed. They're coming in with complex needs. The difference is the amount of students we're seeing, the amount of complex needs, and the lack of wraparound services that we can access for those students.
There are definitely classes that are bigger than 30, bigger than 35, bigger than 40.
Bigger than 40.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I started this piece starts with a teacher in Northeast Edmonton who was, the day I talked to him, the following morning he was going to have a class of 43. Yeah. Now, sometimes there's physically not space for them, right? In week one, it's like there can be a situation where there's not a chair. There could be a situation where you sit on a countertop. There can be a situation where the hallway has suddenly turned into an impromptu classroom because there's not room. So we do actually have a physical space crunch. And then we have teachers that are, some of them, you know, this young teacher just entering the field, flat out said, I'm overwhelmed.
You're getting students who are coming in with less money provided, which means the services and supports they get in that school are drastically impacted, whether that be physical space, whether that be access to technology or wraparound supports, mental health supports, etc. The reality is kids are coming in with less funding, so they're getting less for them.
Yeah, one of this, Tracy's watching us live right now on YouTube, and she's in our live chat. She says, when I was last in the classroom, she says, I had class sizes so high there wasn't even enough room for that many desks in the room, so kids were sitting on bookshelves at the back of the room. You don't sound surprised at all.
Not at all, particularly in our high schools, where we're seeing the class sizes of 40 plus. I remember at one point when I was in high school, there was that situation until more desks could be brought in, and frankly then trying to maneuver around those desks, let alone if there was somebody in the classroom who had mobility issues. I mean, that creates a huge problem, not just for those folks, but also in emergency situations when there's so many desks that you can't get out of the room in an efficient way. Like the problems just kind of compound when you don't address those class sizes. Students in my class and that I've taught for the past 10 years deserve better, and they deserve adults in this society who will advocate for them because they don't have a voice in the way that we do. So I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to speaking about this because I know that there's a need and my students deserve that.
So people are going to say, Laurence, well, what do you want us to do? New schools are, what, $250 million, $300 million to build?
Sure.
I'm guessing, approximately, let's say 200 for the sake of argument. Teacher salaries, you can't just add 70 salaries in a new community for a new school all the time, wherever you like. You can't double the capacity. So what do you want us to do?
Well, definitely there's a major funding component here, right? And I don't think that we can pretend that it's not going to take more money to solve the problem. It would take more money to solve the problem. With regards to funding, I do think Albertans should know that we have slipped to bottom in Canada for per student funding. If you can put up this slide, this is Statistics Canada data from 2019, 2020 that folks on YouTube would be looking at, and they would be seeing a red line at the bottom for Alberta indicating that our per student funding is about $10,500. They would see Quebec at the top there, close to 15,000, and then other provinces in between. I do want to say also that, it's not a rosy picture in Quebec. They just announced that they are about 8,000 teachers short for this current school year. And I did a bit of Googling this morning just to see the origin of this story, and it's not new. 2 years ago, the government warned, we're going to be 8,000 teachers short. In their case, it's because teachers are leaving their profession, right? But there has been an attempt to reinvest, get people back. They were trying to bring teachers out of retirement in Quebec to meet this shortfall. The problem in Alberta is we're not trying, right? We're not tracking the data. So we used to have class size targets. They were the maximum that we recommended was 17 students at K to 3. It was 23 students for 4 to 6, right? So especially at those young grade levels, our aspiration used to be in Alberta that we would have smaller class sizes. And we abandoned that aspiration in 2019, and we abandoned the special class size initiative that went along with it. So now we're a bit in the dark. It takes a journalist and anecdotal information a bit to shine a spotlight on what's going on, because the government is not tracking or reporting anymore.
Why do you think? Like, if you had to guess.
I think that by not talking about a problem, you hope that people won't notice it.